Hello, this is John Wynn.
And Billete.
And this is the Doomer Bloomer podcast. And we have a show tonight.
Finally.
Talking about various subjects as per usual. What are we talking about tonight, Bill?
On to the docket tonight, John. Pimp My Tesla, the new Tesla truck fail, Elon Musk.
Okay.
I want to showcase a book I've been reading about learning any new skill. It's called Mastery by Robert Greene.
Mm-hmm.
We may be discussing the potential for civil wars, culture wars in North America, where that may be Texas or California or...
Well, I think we're already in full-fledged culture war at this time. It's whether we think whether the way I kind of see it is whether it's going to lead eventually maybe in the next 40, 50 years into a full-fledged war.
We're talking actual shots fired.
Yeah, exactly.
We also have the topic of different generations, whether that be the silent generation, pre-World War II, the baby boomers, post-World War II, Gen Xers, this new term, Zennials, which is between a Gen Xer and a millennial, millennials, and Generation Z, or the iGeneration.
Yeah.
And this new one I've just heard, if you're 6 years old, you're an alpha.
Yeah. Yeah. Alpha kid.
Alpha kid.
Generation Alpha.
Yeah, post YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. I grew up in the 90s, so my idea of cartoons is completely different than yours, obviously. And
did you watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Yes, I used to be my favorite shows.
Oh, you're in the hood, man.
Yeah, we're in the same neighborhood. I mean, we're millennial. Well, I'm a millennial. I think you're Zennial.
The thing is, the Zennial, I'm on this site here that talks about the different generations, and the Zennials are almost like a bracket. I mean, the first 5 years of generation Y or millennial generations are considered millennials, and the last 5 years of the Generation X are considered Zennials. So I'm technically a millennial.
I would say,
born in 81.
Okay, yeah. So you're an early millennial. So, I'd call that early millennial.
Yeah, I'm an early model.
Yeah, early model.
Yeah.
I'm the Liquid Terminator, and you're the T100. So you're kind of clunky, but you can kind of make it up with tenacity.
I can get the job done.
Yeah, you can get it done.
You won't mistake me for a human.
No. Exactly.
Yeah, if I were a Terminator.
If you were a Terminator.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it a good analogy.
Yeah, you got good one, man. So you're saying these iGens, the safe space generation, because this is actually, I guess I've fallen into this trap. Later millennials are this generation that are part of the safe space generation, and
me too.
Yeah, but it would actually this author Jonathan Haidt, he explains he actually studied this quite extensively, and it all this talk really started the first whisperings of this type of culture, if you will, and especially in academia, happened in 2013.
Okay, yeah.
In 2014, that's where it really picked up, and it's been progressing more and more since then. The fragile generation.
Snowflakes. The snowflake generation.
Snowflake generation, I guess. Yeah, and it would be maybe like some early millennials, but some, I mean, later, like very late millennials. But it's really, and this is the name of it's Generation Z, or the iGen generation.
So, like an easy way to tell if you're iGen or not is if you remember 9/11, like the Twin Towers being struck.
Yeah.
And then you're considered a solid millennial. If you don't remember the Twin Towers, or if you were a toddler, then you're in the
95 to 2012. So, like the oldest iGen generation were 6 years old when this happened. Right. When that happened. So, yeah. If you're born after 1995, you're part of this newer generation which is a generation that's been currently in school since 2013.
Because they'd be ranging from 18 to 20.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the generation that grew up on social media. Like millennials, we're not doing that great when it comes to mental health and all that. Like, there's a lot of issues with.
Well, it's also known as
depression and anxiety, but this generation is supposedly even worse. And I mean, I don't want to be like, there's like this meme now, "Okay, Boomer." Like, anytime an old man, like someone from the Boomer generation says something, and it's like automatically dismissed now by the term "Okay, Boomer." It's like a huge meme in the last month on the internet.
Oh, okay, Boomer Jon.
Yeah. My phone is trying to help me, but you're not.
What is it trying to help you with, John?
Well, I said "Okay, Boomer," and it seems like my phone thought I said "Okay, Google." Oh
God! Do you have a Google?
I have a Google.
Do you have a Google Home?
No, it's on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I that shit kind of scares me. Might be my Zennial or early millennial ways, but already, I mean, they're already spying with me on my. They're already spying on us with our phones and computers and all that.
Well, but it kind of segues into a topic you brought up, is should the government try and break up monopolies of tech companies?
Yeah, the tech monopoly. I don't know. I mean, I'm just some dude rambling on the internet. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but
how in terms of your privacy, how close to the book by George Orwell, 1984, are we living right now?
I mean, I haven't read that book, but I know like exactly what goes on, and like I've seen dissertations, if you will, on the book.
But in that book, there was microphones in every home. There was a camera watching you in every home. We're literally.
But I mean, like, the government was so oppressive. I mean, if you have like
I know it was a dystopian future. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, in terms of capability, I guess we're 100% there.
But should it be the government, or should it be mega corporations in a faraway country?
You know what? I think I'd prefer. That's why this is what makes me hesitate. I really don't like governments like getting involved in getting their hands into all these different pockets of society
in free enterprise, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you have like these companies that have this type of power that can like basically destroy you in a blink of an eye. But I mean, even a smaller company could do that. Like, say you're a smaller company, you're like, so Facebook has billions of users. So say you're an emerging social media network and you only have like, say, 5 million users. I mean, and you have all these people's data. I mean, it doesn't mean because like the company is big that they can't like ruin you. It's just that when you have like these big companies like that and that no one can even penetrate the market anymore, that's when these companies kind of are able to do anything they want, right?
Well, I'm just like, how much access should we be giving these sort of corporations to our lives?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've definitely seen it with Instagram. I mean, if it has access to your microphone, whatever you're talking about for the day or whatever you Googled that day, it stores your cookies.
Yeah, Facebook does it. They all do it. Every single one of them do it.
But I'm just saying, like, how much access do you want Google and Amazon to have to your life is all I'm getting at. I mean, I personally like Amazon. I use Amazon a lot.
Yep.
Because I'm the type of person that I don't enjoy going to physical stores. I would rather just go pick it up in the mail, and I know exactly what I bought when it comes to me. If I don't like it, I can ship it back. That was something that in the 90s and 2000s I never had access to.
I know. I mean, I've like these technologies. Facebook, when it first came out, and I started reconnecting with people I hadn't seen in years, I was amazed, and it felt like a blessing almost, like to have that sense of connection with a whole bunch of lost people. Google, I mean, I basically self-taught myself so much stuff because of Google and YouTube and the internet as a whole. But I mean, Google is like, before Google, the internet was a mess, right?
That's right. They were
so like the utility for all these and Amazon, like you said. I mean, I love Amazon too. So the utility of these companies are not in dispute. I guess, I guess the key points here would be, do they have too much power where they can really become like the dominant forces in the world, even beyond government, and pretty much do whatever they want? And also, are they so big that they can crush any competition whenever they want? But like this happened with the Rockefellers in the early 1900s. Standard Oil was this huge ass company that basically had a monopoly on the oil business, and they broke it up into 3 or 4 companies like Chevron, ExxonMobil, and all that.
Shell?
No, Shell's actually a British company.
Oh, it's part of BP. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I think it was broken down into smaller companies, but they became like Goliaths in their own right. And this guy was still majority stakeholder in all these different companies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so he actually became richer because of it.
Well,
by breaking up these companies. But did it leave room for more competition? According to the book, I don't think so.
What was the name of the book?
Man, I read that. I read that a very long time ago. I can't remember the name of the book, but it really digged into basically the history of oil.
Okay.
All the way to maybe like the 80s or something. It's an older book, the 70s or 80s. Like it goes in and talks about, like, that's how I found out like O.P.E.C exists, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So oil producing.
Oil producing, exporting companies or something like that.
Or countries. There you go.
Countries, yeah.
So that
And
includes.
I think Saudi Arabia was they were part of it, and then they kind of like were getting out of here. They wanted to nationalize their own oil. I mean, we're completely getting off topic here, but it's a good kind of gives you a good insight into really what can be done. And like when governments start, it's like the government will always find something like, oh, a tech company, when they, you know, they might say, okay, we're going to break up Google and all that, but then they might start like getting into the internet and really regulating it way beyond what we can anticipate. That's why I'm always weary about governments getting involved, right?
Well, that's when we kind of swing the other way towards more of a 1984 future.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not like the technology is going to go away one way or the other. And like in my day-to-day life, I really don't care what they do with my metadata. I guess it's almost like more intellectually that, you know.
The only way to escape that is if you completely renounced your social security and lived completely off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I
guess you could. Yeah, but I mean, you don't necessarily have to get rid of your social security, but I mean, you'd have to erase all your
internet footprint.
Yeah, as much as you can. And I mean, you'd always have a certain amount of it somewhere.
Well, it's cached, right, in Google servers.
Yeah, but maybe like 20 years down the line, it wouldn't matter at all. But does it really matter at this point now? It probably will. We'll probably see in 10, 20, 30 years, like all kinds of crazy stuff surfacing in a very sketchy fashion.
You've got mail.
Yeah.
Like AOL doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, I'm just coming back to the generational thing, right? Like I grew up on MSN Messenger, right? Like I used to have a hotmail.com address. Can you remember your first email address?
I still have it. I still use it sometimes.
Are you serious?
But, yeah, I still have it.
Do you want to say out loud? Is it embarrassing?
Oh, it's not embarrassing. It's it has the word shuriken, as in like a ninja star, with 2 extra letters added to it.
Do you want to shuriken?
Shuriken, mystery letter at hotmail.com.
Do you know what mine was?
Sure, what is it?
So I was a super like Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
So I like it's a completely defunct email, so like if you email it, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But it used to be BS as in my initials, and then like Dark Mark as in like the Dark Lord of Lord Voldemort.
Yeah.
So BS Dark Mark at hotmail.com.
Real player shit there. Right?
That's right. Player Bill up in the house. Oh man, that brings all the ladies to the door.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you want my email, babe?
No. Like, do you want to chat with me on IM Messenger, Hotmail Messenger after school?
Oh yeah.
That's where all the cool kids.
Well, I wasn't in school. When I started using MSN Messenger, I was actually in my 20s.
Oh man, I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is crazy.
Solidly a pre-teenager.
Like Google, like even after Google
did you
had
have
their
to...
IPO, I used to use initially when I remember like the first few times I used the internet, it was Yahoo, and then MSN search was what I was using, right? And I thought it was actually pretty decent. I kept using it for a while.
I was on Netscape Navigator. But No, it brings an interesting point of like where technology was in the 90s. You know, dial up internet was still the norm.
Yep.
And yeah, just like 54 kilobyte a second. You know.
Yeah, Elon Musk says like we're pretty much still in the infancy of the internet. Like if you look how electricity was in the first like 40, 50 years, I mean, we've gone way beyond.
Nikola Tesla is to Elon Musk today, really. You think about it.
Well, in a sense, yes and no, I would say, right? Because it's definitely a pioneer. Sorry, I was actually I was thinking about Jeff Bezos, actually, the founder of Amazon.
No, yeah, so I was comparing Nikola Tesla to Elon Musk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Elon Musk is definitely. I mean, he aptly named his company, I find.
Well, I think he's probably. I don't know. I'd like to meet the man in person, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not that. But
I saw this funny meme because I know we're going to segue into into the Cybertruck now.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But I didn't even mean to, I was actually like I was saying Jeff Bezos. I meant Jeff Bezos, but since I said Elon, let's go with that now. The meme is funny actually. So you see Elon Musk last year smokes weed with Joe Rogan. You see him smoke that weed with Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's right. I
this
did.
year, Cybertruck.
This year, Cybertruck. I got 2 metal balls smashed my windows. No, fuck my life.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't read it yet, but they know why the windows did break when they weren't supposed to. But I think the truck looks pretty badass, and it beat a Ford 250.
Wow,
but there's a lot of saying. Let's just say there might be some caveats out here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could be taken into account. The traction, the wheels, what model.
But is it really a truck?
Well, when you see the Ford, so it's a 4-door 250.
Yeah, but
so it kind of looks like a car, right? But when you see the 250, like size wise, with the Cybertruck, the Ford 250, and that's a huge truck, man, especially a 4-door. It looks kind of small. It looks kind of flimsy beside it, and like a Ford 250 is a pretty big ass truck, you know.
Yeah, but like in terms of the shape, man, it's more like a Batmobile. It's more like Elon's personal tank.
It looks pretty cool.
Wow,
I like it. I don't like the interior that much, but
it's somewhere between the DeLorean meets MS Paint.
It is weird. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, you described it as like Blade Runner 2042.
Yeah, it looks like something you'd see out of Blade Runner, and I really have like a liking to anything that's kind of like futuristic and with a hint of dystopia mixed into it. So that's probably one of the reasons why I like it. I like the way it looks because it doesn't look like anything out there.
Well, it's just like if Homer Simpson designed a car.
You think it's that bad? You really don't like it, eh?
I think it's tech entrepreneurs trying to build a truck when they
you gotta get with the times, Bill.
You know, they should stick to cars. I've personally rode in a Tesla. I've seen a Tesla. I'm a big Tesla fan, but stick to
you are too. Yeah, I know.
I mean that's my dream car.
Yeah.
But like that's the key word. It's my dream car. I think the cyber. Go ahead.
Just buy the Cybertruck and scratch out the truck and write and carve in car in there.
Oh yeah, I'll do that.
Problem solved.
Oh yeah.
You'll be able to get your dream car and repress this unhealthy hatred you have towards the Cybertruck.
The unhealthy hatreds of Elon's personal tank.
2 birds, 1 stone.
2 birds, 1 stone, eh?
Yep.
Bing. Hey, you have more to say on the iGeneration?
Well, actually, what I was going to say is if there is a civil war in the U.S. or there's ramifications in Canada, I might be quite comfortable having a Cybertruck.
Well, yeah, you know what? It actually would be kind of a practical vehicle when you think about it.
Yeah.
As long as
it's very fast, right? It's supposedly very, very fast for a truck. Even though, pickups don't need to be fast. It's nice to have. So
it's pretty fast for a tank.
Yeah, exactly. You can pimp it out like Twisted Metal style.
Oh yeah.
Put some machine guns and missile launchers on there.
Do you really think there'll be a physical civil war, like flesh and blood conflict?
I think it's possible when you have a huge divide like there is now, and like the other side are considered at this point as the enemy and as untouchables that you can't be around. Like a good example of this is a few weeks ago, Ellen DeGeneres went to a sports game. Can't remember if it was basketball or baseball or whatnot.
Baseball.
And she sat with
George W. Bush.
Yeah. And so many people were outraged, right? They're like, how could you sit with the enemy?
How dare that lesbian sit with a Republican ex-president?
Yeah, exactly.
How dare that comedian do that? How dare she?
Yeah. And I think and this is like one example out of, God knows, millions.
Thousands, millions.
Yeah. I mean, when there's this much of a divide that just keeps on getting more and more amplified for various reasons, and it continues in this trend, who knows what can happen? And I actually believe it would just take 1 or 2 situations that pisses off the other side to a point where it's like it's over. Because like here in Canada, I mean, like the West, especially Alberta, they're getting sick of Canada and all that. They want to separate, and I mean, like we had. Yeah, they want to have like their own type of Brexit, but within an actual country, not a continent, like not a union, right? If you look at different, I mean, like every state is basically a different country. I mean, you take a state like Texas compared to California, you're in 2 different worlds there.
Well, one is gun-toting and religious, and the other is freewheeling and hyper climate change aware and very, very woke.
Yeah, very woke, but the taxes are super high. Yeah, very progressive in their political views and all that. Very, but different, like gun toting, and yeah, Texas is definitely more religious than California, but I don't think it's as stereotypical as it was even a few years back. I don't think like every person's a Christian there and all that, but it's definitely a different place. But like California right now, man, I just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, man. What a good movie. Quentin Tarantino movie. It's the last one he got out there. you see, like, even you can just see, like, whenever there's a documentary about the 60s, they always like show California, and I mean, there was huge upheaval, but there was something in the air back then, in the 60s, 70s, and all that. I mean,
Like,
there was like something special about California. Now it's a fucking cesspool with feces all over the streets, and the homeless population that represents, I think it's 48% of the homeless population. And that's where most of all the millionaires and billionaires are compared to the rest of the country. And that's where, like, there's the biggest poverty. And now, like, the California is trying to regulate even more and more. Like, the U.S., a lot of people think it's like free enterprise. It's not, man. There's so many regulations there. In almost every, like, in every sphere of business and financial markets and all that. Just remember, like, when we were really into crypto and all that, like, a lot of ICOs weren't accessible to U.S. residents. You don't pay your taxes in the U.S. I mean, you go to jail, right? I mean, they don't care. Wesley Snipes went to jail because he didn't pay his taxes. And California is getting even more involved now. They're basically forcing people that want to work for themselves, like independent contractors, to have to work for another company.
Yeah, so they're not really freelancers anymore, are they?
No, exactly. They're employees.
Yeah.
And yeah, so a company like that, a state like that, that's completely the opposite with some place like Texas, which is super pro business, very low taxes compared to their property is affordable.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help but breed completely different mindsets.
Well, regional differences are what make up a cultural identity too. So
yeah, because I mean, like, there's differences between, as soon as you have a large enough geography in any country, you're going to have, like, cultural differences.
Well,
but it's when you can't have a conversation with these people, with the other people you disagree with. When there's no room for conversation, violence is kind of like the last resort. But when there's no conversation, it's the only resort you can really have at that point, or separation.
Well, I know that for myself personally, sometimes, to have a conversation with someone who's 5 or 10 years younger than myself,
mm-hmm.
There's a world of difference there.
Yeah.
Just in terms of life experience and how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to be gendered, misgendered. There's a whole verbiage there that I didn't even grow up with. So I'm finding it a little bit difficult at times to relate to people.
Yeah.
I mean, and then broadcasting that to older generations, right? I imagine how they feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of revolutions start with young generations too. Like, that's how Mao in China, like, used fucking young kids to start the revolution.
Castro, the same thing.
Yeah, you indoctrinate a very naive youth with some ideals, and that's why a lot of these intellectuals are starting to be worried about the left, with good measure, because, like, the left is getting to some type of communism at this point. It's not like socialism. I mean, I think socialism mixed with capitalism is one of the best mix we've seen on the planet. You could call it capitalism plus. It's a Bill Maher joke.
or capitalism plus, or socialism light.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, what we're seeing here is a young generation that doesn't see no hope for the future, even though in a lot of ways, even no people on Earth has ever
lived at a greater point in time.
Yeah, and like, well, if you jot down like the checklist, if you will, like the different various things you can monitor, like health, ease of life, hygiene, food, all across the world. We've never had it better, but we have like some of the highest rates of suicide these days, and anxiety and depression and all that. So when you have a generation of kids that's unhappy, like all it takes is a few. Like look at these Antifa kids. I mean, they look like. It looks like Revenge of the Nerds, man, on the streets. But I mean, they're taking over the streets, and especially in these Western, like in California and Oregon and Washington and places like that. I mean, you already have like these groups of soldiers on the streets that are ready to go to war, like
radicalized.
Yeah, exactly. So if we get back to civil war, I think like this is more than just the U.S. I think there's definitely some large unrest that's going on. I think like the last 5-6 years is equivalent to what we saw in the 60s, but for some reason I think it's going to get worse just because you have the internet of today amplifying things.
Yeah, and it's real time 24-hour news cycles, Twitter.
Yeah. And I think that there's so many different now, since all these different countries are participating in this global political sphere that we have now, that like there's already large suspicion that the Russians meddled with the elections and all that. I mean, it would be very easy for some smart people from different countries or different political views or cultural views and all that to start meddling in the West and trying to export or import their ideas and impose them on a given culture or society. So I think the West is in very, very turbulent times. A lot of people say it's actually the end, the beginning of the end.
Like like a decline.
Yeah, kind of like Rome, right?
I was just going to segue into that because I feel like we're coming out of the apex and then coming onto the decline.
Mm-hmm.
In lots of ways, that's what I see it as personally. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I see a decay of traditional values towards a left-leaning, politicalized and radicalized agenda, if you will. Whether it's unconscious or conscious, But it becomes
it's definitely. I mean, there's been a decay in traditional values, and I don't even see that necessarily as a bad thing since the '60s. Now, what's going to replace it? That's the scary thing here. Well, now, like you look at a superpower like China, I'm terrified that China, the way it runs its country, is going to start running the rest of the world. They have like a social credit system now with cameras on every single corner, and almost like a Black Mirror episode, they're going to rate your If you jaywalk, you lose points. If someone reports saying that you were rude or whatever, you lose points on your social credit score, and that can affect you. It's going to be, and it affects these people in job interviews, in what kind of service, like if they want to get internet service at their home and all that. Now that's like 1984 style. So
personified in the flesh.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm afraid of is if especially this newer generation, but I would say our generation too, millennials, don't quit like trying to tear down our own culture. Things like freedom of speech and doing what you want to do and all that's going to be a thing of the past. And there's nothing we're going to be able to do to stop that. Because like if our culture is no longer the shining light on the planet, and it's someplace like China or say an Islamic state or something like that, for someone like me, I really don't see that being better than what we have here. So scary times.
Well, it's been the most free we've ever been, but don't take that for granted.
Yeah, it's almost like it reminds me of that interview between in the Matrix between Mr. Smith and Morpheus, and Mr. Smith is talking about how like the Matrix was perfect, a true paradise for humans, and it turned out to be the biggest disaster. Just because humans seem to not be able to handle happiness.
I don't think we can. I think we're programmed for that.
Yeah.
I think striving is our perpetual state of being.
Yeah.
In a good way. I mean, lots of things have come out of that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like everything with us humans, it seems like there's only like a small fine line on what's positive about our natural impulses. It's like we really have to keep them in check to a certain degree for them to be positive, not only for ourselves but for the people around us.
Well, I've been reading this book, Mastery by Robert Greene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it talks about like how we went from being like tree dwellers to moving out into the savannah to hunting in groups, and how much that required our prefrontal cortex to grow and our hand-eye coordination to be that much better.
Yeah,
and how we went from that to being the dominant species on the planet on every single continent
in a short amount of time.
In such a short amount of time, and including, Darwin was one of the people who kind of pioneered what evolution was.
Mm-hmm.
So he's highlighted in there. Albert Einstein is talked about, and how long it takes to attain mastery over a subject, and it's years. 10,000 hours is a starting spot for most masters.
Yeah.
To reach that in your lifetime in one area of study, it's 7 to 10 years, and then the rest of your life to perfect it. If you haven't read the book, I would highly recommend it to anyone.
So like, it's almost like if you're doing a martial art, right, to be a black belt is actually approximately 7 to 10 years. There's exceptions, of course, but once you get your black belt, you're kind of like only on the beginning of your path to mastery at that point.
Well, yeah, there's an apprenticeship phase, and then there's a creative active phase, and then mastery comes much later.
Yeah.
So, and I just realized how much of life has been an apprenticeship of things, right? Learning the systems of things, and then deep diving on a subject, until you're so good at it, you can make the connections widely disparate in your mind.
Yeah. What do you think is the percentage of people that are true masters of something on the planet? It's probably very low, right?
0.01.
Yeah. Definitely.
I mean, it's easier now with the internet and the access of information, but in the past, you had to come from aristocratic family, have some sort of wealthy background, or just been lucky.
Or kind of been born into a certain skill that was part of your family lineage or something, like a blacksmith or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
We don't really traditionally nowadays look highly on those sort of professions or like skilled trades in general. Because, you're working with your hands. Oh, God. But everything you see around you is created by somebody.
Yeah.
At some point, whether that be a bricklayer, bricksmith, or
well, we do focus on specialization, but I don't think there's any, because like when you become a master at most things in this day and age, it means lots of money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a true master, like say at chess, like at my best at chess, I'm in the top 3%. In the world, at least on chess.com, the biggest website on the world. And you actually have the real chess champion and all that. But I am far from being a master.
Well, you're not Bobby Fischer.
No, but like even like actually in chess, you've got different types of mastery level. You've got like a international master, you've got a candidate master, and you've got like grandmaster. Grandmaster is like creme de la creme at that point. But I mean, there's quite a bit of, I wouldn't say, I mean, they're fairly rare, but like the difference between the chess champion and one of the lower ranked grandmasters is like huge. It's huge. Well, I'm not even like at a master level. I'm not even like expert yet at chess. And even though like sometimes I'm in the top 3%, for most people, if I played chess, I'd be like a wizard, but I'm a complete buffoon if I played even against a regular expert player.
Noob.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you only thought 6 moves ahead, man.
Noob.
I go, shut up, nerd.
Oh gosh.
Mastery. I haven't mastered anything.
No, well, mastery takes a lot of dedicated focus. So like I said, the book talks about, it's easier now than it ever used to be, just because of access to information and you can compress your apprenticeship phase. But it still requires that focus, which I find in today's world society is not really valued, especially the way people are taught now.
Yeah.
Like rote memorization, like I do a lot of self-learning and self-education, right?
Yeah.
Just because I find, my learning style is more adapted to that. And the way that generationally we were taught, it doesn't really like, there's an emphasis on book smarts now. Whereas before it was more of hands-on, and you do it until you figure it out. And that's how I learn best, is by doing things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my particular style of learning. I don't know about yourself.
Well, in anything, you have to participate and actually do what you need to do. I mean, you can take trading as an example. You can even paper trade with like virtual money, but until you actually use real money, and there's like the emotional, psychological variables that are necessary. You can read all the books and take all the courses you want, but you're not going to get any better. You can apply that to golf. You can apply that. You can read every single book, watch every single video on golf or any sport or any game or any endeavor. You have to participate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a key component. It's like the most important component. Yeah. So I'm gonna withhold making a 7th grade joke on the topic of mastery.
Okay, because you're a master debater. I went there just because.
Oh, I'm sure you did.
I just want to say, like, I know we have some new listeners to the show. I've been getting messages from Russia. I know we have listeners in the United States and Europe as well.
In Canada, of course.
And Canada. I mean, we're a multicultural, phenomena. But the feedback has been really positive. Just so you guys know. And we're always open to debate and even having guests on the show. I know we're kind of in our infancy, so we're just kind of getting started here.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the love sent our way, and definitely keep it up. And it'll be our pleasure to dialogue with you, with all of you. I was going to say you people. I don't want to pull a Don Cherry here.
People kind.
With from my friends and family of people kind across the world. But every one of you guys, we appreciate it, and feel free to go on our social media page at Instagram,
Doomer Bloomers. We have a Twitter. I'm not the most active on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I find Twitter to be kind of distracting, a bit of a cesspool, to be honest.
Yeah, but we'll come to you guys eventually.
We're definitely on the YouTube. I try to post on the YouTube. This podcast. We're on all the major platforms now. Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Alexa. So you'll find us. We'll find us there. Anything you want to add tonight, John, that I haven't talked about or we haven't talked about?
Well, I think we're good. I'm just glad to be back on air.
Yeah, me too.
After a slight hiatus here.
Well, we do this between our regular 9-to-5 gigs. Just so you guys know. So as much as you want to support us, feel free to support the show. Just let us know. And if you have topics that you think we should talk about, even shoot me an Instagram message or.
Yeah, definitely. We're definitely looking forward of what you guys find important, so we can discuss this with our fans virtually, or maybe even directly on the podcast.
All right. Do you want to sign off, or?
I think we're good. So this is John Wynn
and Bill Ate.
When we're signing off. Cheers.
Peace.